From a legal tug-of-war over Trump's global tariffs, a fragile ceasefire deal in Gaza, to Elon Musk's quiet exit from government. Plus today's trivia question, which state claims to be the birthplace of the modern donut? Well, it's almost the weekend and I'm feeling a bit generous, so I'll give you one hint. It's in New England. It's Friday, May 30th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning. Happy Friday. My name is Ayla Brown, and can I say congratulations? You made it. Barely, maybe, but you're here and that's what counts. Whether you're coasting into the weekend or clinging to that last coffee like a lifeline, we've got you covered with everything you need to know. So let's take off with the biggest headlines. Let's jump into today's top headlines, starting with the latest on President Trump's trade policies. A federal appeals court has temporarily lifted one of two rulings that had blocked President Trump's new round of global tariffs. This came just hours after a lower court rejected the administration's legal defense. It's a legal ping-pong match. Many of the tariffs remain blocked under a separate ruling, but the White House has 2 weeks to appeal, and sources say they could take the fight all the way to the Supreme Court as soon as today. The back and forth has left international leaders and trade partners a little confused about what's actually going into effect. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Israel has agreed to a U.S.-backed ceasefire deal, but all eyes are now on Hamas to see how they respond. The 60-day proposal includes a pause in fighting and the release of 10 living hostages, plus the remains of 18 others. Hamas is reportedly pushing for additional terms, especially a clearer pathway from a temporary ceasefire to a permanent end to the war. Inside Israel, the proposal is dividing opinion. Some hardliners argue the country has the upper hand militarily and shouldn't stop now. And finally, a remarkable chapter in American history has closed. Harrison Ruffin Tyler, the last living grandson of President John Tyler, who took office in 1841, has passed away at the age of 96. Yes, a grandson of a man born in 1790 was still alive in 2025. It's all thanks to some very late-in-life fatherhood. President Tyler had a son at the age of 63, and that son had Harrison at 75 years old. So 3 generations stretched across nearly 235 years. Wild. You can read more about these stories and all stories today in the email edition of The Flyover. Subscribe right now and for free at jointheflyover.com. Here's what's happening in politics. In Washington, Elon Musk is stepping away from his formal government role. He announced on X that he's leaving his advisory position with the Trump administration after leading a major push to cut federal spending and streamline bureaucracy. No word yet on who might take over that effort. Also on Thursday, President Trump met with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell to talk about the state of the economy, marking their first meeting of the year. Powell made it clear afterwards that he didn't commit to any changes in interest rates, keeping markets guessing on what's next for borrowing costs. Meanwhile, a federal judge has temporarily blocked the White House from rolling back migrant protections that were put in place during the Biden administration. The ruling orders the government to resume processing certain applications, at least for now. At the Supreme Court, justices handed down an 8-0 decision allowing federal agencies to narrow the scope of their environmental impact reviews. That means big infrastructure projects are less likely to get delayed by environmental concerns. A blow to activists, but a win for developers. And finally, a GOP congressman has introduced a very interesting bill to rename Washington, D.C.'s entire metro system the Trump train. The proposal would change the name of the D.C. Metro to the Washington Metropolitan Authority for Greater Access, or WMAGA. We'll see if that happens. We are brought to you today by Fatty 15. Have you ever thought about what really causes aging? Well, it turns out it starts with our cells, and when they break down, everything, I'm talking everything from our sleep to our energy, our mood, even joint function, can suffer. Scientists have recently discovered the first essential fatty acid in over 90 years. It's called C15, and low levels of it may actually speed up cellular aging. In fact, 1 of 3 people may be dealing with something called cellular fragility syndrome, a newly identified nutritional deficiency linked to fragile, aging cells. Fatty 15 is a pure, vegan-friendly supplement developed alongside researchers from the U.S. Navy. It's clinically shown to improve cholesterol, liver, and gut health, and even red blood cell function, often in just a few weeks. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier longer, of course. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/flyover15 and using the code flyover15 at checkout. Or, of course, click on the link in the description below. New faces at Hogwarts, new plays in women's pro sports, and a not-so-magical car recall. I'll break it all down next. Let's take a look at what's happening in business and finance. Regencell Bioscience had a massive day on Wall Street, with its stock jumping another 41% on Thursday. The company is based out of Hong Kong. It's focused on developing and commercializing traditional Chinese medicine treatments for neurocognitive disorders, specifically ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. It's been on a tear lately, and while the company hasn't given a clear indicator for the surge, speculation is swirling about what's driving the momentum. In the beauty world, ELF Cosmetics just made a $1 billion move, buying Hailey Bieber's Rhode skincare brand. The 28-year-old entrepreneur and wife of Justin Bieber launched the brand just a few years ago, and it's now officially part of the ELF empire. Next, GameStop just bought over $500 million worth of Bitcoin, around 4,710 coins, as part of a new strategy to use crypto as a treasury reserve. Funded by a $1.3 billion bond offering, the move mirrors companies like MicroStrategy aiming to diversify assets. Still, GameStop stock dropped nearly 11% after the announcement. And finally, Ford has issued a recall on over 1 million vehicles due to a software glitch that affects the rear view camera system. The company says it's working on a fix, but for now, it's another headache for drivers and dealers. Let's take a quick look at how the markets did yesterday. Stocks inched up across the board. Nothing dramatic, but a solid day overall. The Nasdaq climbed nearly 0.5%. The S&P 500 rose 0.40%, and the Dow ticked up just under 0.3%. Bitcoin, on the other hand, dropped about 1.7% to just over $105,000, while gold had a big shine today, no pun intended, jumping more than 1.4% to over $3,340 an ounce. And here's your sports news. The College Baseball World Series officially gets underway today, with regional tournaments kicking off across the country and a full slate of games on deck. It's a huge day for college baseball fans, and the energy should be high from the first pitch. Meanwhile, Major League Baseball is making its first big move into women's sports by backing the launch of a new professional softball league. The investment comes through Athletes Unlimited Softball, and it's part of MLB's broader push to grow the game across all levels. Over in the NHL, the Florida Panthers are heading back to the Stanley Cup Finals for the third straight year, an achievement only 9 teams in league history have pulled off. So congratulations to them. And in college basketball news, with an NBA twist, the NIL era continues to reshape the draft landscape. More top-tier prospects than ever are choosing to stay in school thanks to lucrative endorsement deals that are now rivaling, or in some cases beating, what they would earn as rookie players. I don't know if you know this, but I played Division I college basketball, and man, do I wish I was back there making some of that money that these student athletes are making today. Call me jealous. I'll admit it. Here's what's going on in science and technology. China has successfully launched its Tianwen-2 mission, targeting the near-Earth asteroid Kamoa-O'Alewa. This asteroid orbits close to Earth and is considered a quasi-satellite. The spacecraft will attempt to collect samples using 2 different techniques, a touch-and-go approach and an anchor and attach method, which has never been done before. If successful, the mission will bring the samples back to Earth by 2027 before continuing on to study a distant comet with its next stop scheduled for 2035. In medical news, a new experimental painkiller may soon change how we treat pain. The FDA has approved Jornavix, a non-opioid medication developed by Vertex Pharmaceuticals. It works by targeting a sodium channel involved in pain signaling, and clinical trials have shown it to be as effective as opioids for short-term pain, without the same risk of addiction. And if you're feeling stressed, there's a song that might help. Weightless by British ambient group Marconi Union has been scientifically proven to reduce anxiety by up to 65%. It is so effective that researchers actually advise against listening to it while driving. So give it a try if you need a midweek moment of calm, or you can listen to it by going to today's email edition of the Flyover. I just warn you, don't do it unless you want to fall asleep. Let's end the week with some entertainment news. HBO has officially cast 3 newcomers, Dominic McLaughlin, Alistair Stout, and Arabella Stanton, as the next generation of Harry, Ron, and Hermione in its long-awaited Harry Potter TV reboot. The series is expected to span an entire decade, with each season adapting 1 book in J.K. Rowling's beloved series. Over on CBS, Survivor is celebrating its 50th season in style, bringing back fan-favorite contestants like Suri Fields, Ozzy Lust, and White Lotus creator Mike White, along with recent winner Dee Valladares. And of course, if you're ready to binge, June's TV lineup is loaded with big premieres, including, I'm so excited for this, the final season of Squid Game, Marvel's Ironheart, and Owen Wilson's new golf-themed comedy called Stick. Happy viewing! You know, the Sun is putting on a show in New York City in just a couple days. A New England state is taking credit for your morning donut, and your burger votes are in. It's all coming next on the Flyover Podcast. Time for some of the wild and wonderful headlines you might have missed. A 2-year-old from the UK just became the youngest person ever admitted to Mensa, the high IQ society for folks in the top 2% of intelligence tests. According to Guinness World Records, this toddler has already read books aloud, learned Morse code, and memorized the Greek alphabet. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty average as a parent today with my 2.5-year-old. And a 10-carat pink diamond believed to have been passed down from Queen Marie Antoinette to her daughter in the 1700s is expected to fetch up to $5 million at auction next month. I actually think it'll go higher than that. And Manhattan Henge is back this week, the stunning twice-a-year moment when the sun aligns perfectly with New York City's street grid. I'm sure you've seen the photos of that. And if you're in Manhattan on Wednesday or Thursday evening, head to 42nd or 57th Street for a picture-perfect sunset between the skyscrapers. All right, here's yesterday's poll question and the results. All has to do with cheeseburgers. Avoiding the giant chains, what is your favorite fast food hamburger? 19% said Whataburger, 17% said none, 14% said Culver's, another 14% said other, 13% said In-N-Out, 13% said Five Guys, 5% said Steak and Shake, 3% said Shake Shack, 2% said Carl's Jr. Wow, we had a lot of people that contributed to that poll. Thank you so much. I actually had a teammate of mine at Boston College who was from Texas. She would always talk about how good Whataburger was. Now, we definitely don't have any of those in the northeast part of the United States, so I've never had one, but it sounds like you guys have. Here is the poll question for today. You can cast your vote at jointheflyover.com, and Amy Hess will read the answers in tomorrow's show. Here it is. Have you ever owned a Ford? There's 4 different ways to answer. Yes, no, not by choice, or I'd do it again. I actually have to choose not by choice because the first car I ever owned was a 1983 Crown Victoria, which is a car made by Ford. It was actually passed down to me by my grandfather's great aunt. She lived in Florida, barely drove it. It was in great condition. And imagine pulling up to high school with that beast of a car with an 8-track player inside. I tried to pull it off like it was the coolest car in the lot, but I'm not sure that it was. So anyway, I'm going to vote not by choice. The weekend host, Amy Hess, will read your comments in tomorrow's show. Can't wait to see it. All right, I already gave you one hint. I said it was in New England, but here is the trivia question. Which state claims to be the birthplace of the modern donut? The answer? Well, it goes to Maine. Legend has it, a sea captain from Rockport, Maine, punched a hole in his fried dough with a pepper box so he could steer his ship and snack at the same time. That genius move gave us the ring-shaped donut that we all know today, now celebrated every year at the Rockport Donut Festival. Raise your hand if you knew that. I didn't. I actually grew up in Massachusetts, where I am pretty sure we were taught that donuts were invented by Dunkin' and delivered straight from heaven by Larry Bird. It has been a pleasure spending the week with you. If you're wondering how you can support the show, here's how you can help. Share the episode on your social media pages or to a friend or family member who you think would enjoy this. Leave a comment. And don't forget to rate the show and give us a 5-star review. You're in great hands of Amy Hess this weekend. I will see you bright and early on Monday. Thanks for flying with us.